Sometimes words simply cannot do justice. I read a long time ago that over-explanation can kill the art. After all, it's meant to be an exchange, a telepathic dialogue, a spark to ignite your infinite imagination. An interaction, that's the foundation. Art only comes to life when someone is interacting with it, and that statement will have a whole different meaning by the end of this one. So, Lorelei and the Laser Eyes. It is a game that I have been obsessed with towards the tail end of 2024. It is an institution of ideas, a surrealist adventure, and a bold artistic achievement. It is bringing out the poet inside of me, and I won't apologize for the structuring on this one. An avant-garde video game requires an avant-garde essay. Listen, I'm smiling with excitement right now because this is the first time in a long time that a game has captivated me so much. Why shouldn't I shower it with praise? In the sea of endless mediocrity where many are creatively bankrupt, I have found something that has meaning and passion behind its existence. Video games are such a powerful medium when used correctly, a combination of so many different and distinct forms of art that play into each other to arrive at something special. A modern-day kaleidoscope of creativity, if you will. In a generation where everyone's attention span is getting lower and lower, I have found something that requires patience and introspection. If Da Vinci was to paint the Mona Lisa today and stream himself online doing so, we would scroll past it without giving it a thought. Instant gratification has destroyed uniquely crafted artistic endeavors. Indeed, I feel like we don't deserve something as brilliant as Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, yet I couldn't be more grateful that it exists. It is not something we deserve, yet it is definitely what the industry needs and requires at the moment. Even the game has a metaphor where it directly reflects the the best mystery games are those in which you have no idea what you're trying to find out in the first place. Here you are, car parked in a forest. In the distance lies a hotel filled with twisted corridors, locked doors, fragments of the past, and something strange. What exactly are you searching for? The character screen shows progression as truth recovered. The game also just starts without any context, no cutscene, nothing. Selecting new game takes you directly to the starting point. Here you will find an instruction manual from SIMOGO, the company who developed this game. Already we are breaking the fourth wall. Okay, the manual recommends the player to play this game while keeping pen and paper close at hand. This message I did not take lightly. Over the next 24 in-game hours, I filled multiple pages with abstract and absurd notes, patterns, directions, numbers, and even the Greek alphabet. And all of that came in clutch. This is a game that respects your intelligence. Actually, it only wants 3 things from you: patience, observation, and introspection. If you got those 3 down, you will eventually solve every puzzle. Fun fact, I can show you the solution to each and every one of these, but it wouldn't matter because the answers to them get randomly generated during each playthrough. This was intended by the developers in order to make sure that even if the players were to use an online guide, they still would have to understand how a puzzle is to be solved. No direct answers are present here, not for these brain-teasing conundrums, and certainly not for the story that is taking place. Or maybe it already A blog post on the developer's website shows you the various sources of inspiration for the game, from musicians like Eric Satie to interactive classics like Silent Hill, showing you a glimpse of just how well thought out this whole ordeal is. And indeed it is. On structure alone, Lorelei and the Laser Eyes deserves to be framed inside of a museum. Every inch of this virtual world is here for a reason. It serves a specific purpose. No space is wasted. From plot threads to puzzle solutions, everything is connected and leads into each other. Even the music contains spoiler for the story. Okay, just to put things in perspective, there is a PS1 style game within this game. There's also a point and click pixelated adventure. There are also micro mini games, some of which are references to the developer's previous projects. There are tons of boxes with weird symbols. There is a maze which you navigate from a top-down perspective. There is a maze which you navigate from a third-person perspective. And yes, all of that has a narrative connection. It's not just wacky ideas executed for the sake of it. It has structure and meaning behind it. Technically, everything I just described would be spoiler territory for any other game, but for this specific one, it's not. Because you don't know the context in which these things are presented. And that makes all the difference. The core beauty of this game lies in the experience. It is actually during the boring moments when you are stuck on a puzzle and you refer back through your notes again and again and again until you finally arrive at a solution. And as a byproduct of that, you are slowly starting to see the plot reveal itself. You see, the best moment of this game is personal to the individual player. It is when they have figured it out. It is when they are able to say, if anything I have conveyed up till this point sounds intriguing to you, even remotely so, please play the game. And if you intend to do so, I think it's best for you to leave now. Beyond this point, I'm going to give my interpretation of the story. This is a very artsy game, so naturally there's a subjective element to it. I cannot take that pleasure away from you. I believe you should formulate your own opinions and theories before hearing out mine. So without further ado, let's begin. To understand the story, we have to first understand the central characters it contains. In this one, there are 4. I am starting off with the protagonist. Her name is right there in the title, Lorelei. She is a multidisciplinary artist, but her main areas of expertise lie in computers and technology. The abstract puzzle boxes, the open to interpretation rooms, and the video games you play were made by her. In regards to the latter, the things that you are seeing and the things that actually existed might be 2 different things, so keep that in mind. There are 2 different versions of Lorelei, the 1963 one and the 2014 one. While we play as the younger version, interacting with her older self is crucial in order to complete the game. Now you may be wondering, and rightfully so, how can 2 different timelines exist at the same time? Well, I am going to circle back to that question, so let's keep moving. Next we have Renzo Nero. He is just referenced as the man early on. He's also theoretically an artist, at least he would call himself that, a filmmaker, but a sadistic, self-centered, and delusional one at that. He is totally a psychopath. For example, in the 1962 Renzo Nero production Un Animale Terrible, which was described as an interactive horror experience, he cuts out the eyes of a cat. So already all cat lovers hate this man. He also once suggested that the audience should be lined up and shot after each screening of his films. With a mindset like that, it doesn't come as a surprise that he didn't have a successful career. After being denied funding for his upcoming and final project, he spirals further into decay. What is that project, you ask? Well, it is called The Third Eye, and it took place in 1963. He describes it as cinema that does not need people to exist. No audience, no chairs. So he writes the script for this, set in the year 1847. That work of fiction contains two other characters that are in this game, Renate and Lorenzo. There's quite a bit of lore and world building behind them, so I'm not going to go into vivid detail here. All you need to know is, at the end of this fictional story, Renate removes her eyes. Lorenzo, in a state of shock and disbelief, pushes her away from him, and she crashes into a window and falls to her death. Everything I just said right now is extremely important. Returning back to our perceived reality, for his final work, Renzo decides to collaborate with Lorelei after he discovers her work at an exhibition. He instructs her to create a maze using a supercomputer called OCU3, which also kind of means Ocular 3 or the Third Eye technically. The maze correlates heavily to the fictional story Renzo had written. But all of that is actually a facade. After a couple of disturbing events that have Lorelei questioning Renzo's mental stability, she finally meets him in his room. Here it is revealed that Renzo has taken out both of his eyes and he's holding a revolver. Lorelei, in a state of shock and disbelief, pushes him away from her and he crashes into a window and falls to his death. All of that sounds familiar to you? Well, yes, Renzo essentially wrote a script orchestrating his own demise and wanted Lorelei to play her part. After this, an investigation takes place. Lorelei, rightfully so, is declared not guilty, but the incident leaves her traumatized. Now at the final stages of her life in 2014, she is, I assume, mentally traveling back in time in order to make peace with herself before she closes her laser eyes forever. The hotel you explore is a distorted figment of her imagination. There are so many dead giveaways. The structure of the hotel, with rooms that are numbered to coincide with important years of Lorelei's life. The line between fiction and reality is blurred, but there's one major clue. Every time Lorelei is interacting with a character or an element that was taken straight out of Renzo's script, her eyes transition into this pinkish red color, or so as to say they become the laser eyes. Whether it is Lorenzo, Renate, or even a younger version of Renate, you can see the visual aesthetic undergo a major change. The final segment of this game happens after you log into the supercomputer OCU3, which turns everything on its head. Perhaps all this time we have been playing a game that is just super aware that it is a game. Listen, there are a couple of things that don't make sense. If Lorelei's story ends in 2014, why is there a 2022 article talking about her in the game? The instruction booklet, for example at the start, thanks you for selecting the Lorelei and the Laser Eyes software. Huh? Just below it is SIMOGO's copyright for the year 2014, but the actual game was released in 2024. The computers you use to save the game inside this game shows SIMOGO's company history from 1982 to 2014. That's not possible because the actual real-life company based out of Sweden was founded in 2010. This is a game within a game within a game. A story within a story within a story. This is just Inception levels here, and I love it. Peeling back the surrealist curtains, the moral takeaway for me personally remains that this is a cautionary tale about a man's obsession with his so-called art. Make no mistake, Renzo is not an artist. Art doesn't require you to be inhumane. In fact, it demands the exact opposite from you. Art needs empathy, it needs an audience, it needs their interaction, their interpretation to make it art. Real art and real artists should strive to be a voice for the voiceless, to inspire, to captivate, and to help others feel seen and heard. It should give perspective to the narrow-minded, help them see the error of their selfish ways. I'll leave you at that metaphor. Full circle it is. At the end of the game, I was stunned, mesmerized, and had overcome with emotion. One, because the story was a melancholic tragedy, and two, because games like this are a dying breed. Games that push the medium forward and are not afraid to try something new. If you have been following my works for a while, you know that my favorite game of all time is Silent Hill 2. For years I have been chasing that exact same feeling. The feeling of a game opening up your mental horizons, challenging you to think deeply with different perspectives. And just as I like to mentally revisit that foggy town once in a while, I will certainly revisit this mysterious hotel in its never-ending maze, filled with metaphors, asking the same questions and stumbling upon a different answer each time. My name is Rahil Blade. I love video games, and man, I hope they love me back.
I am an old woman. I'm yesterday's news. I dream in black and white, see it all through laser eyes. I am an old woman. I was born to sing the blues. I dream in black and white, see it all through laser eyes. Before I go